Welcome and enjoy your magical marketing insights. Hey there, I'm Christine Collins, and I have for you today an explanation about the best approach to creating content marketing and really anything at all in your business or in general in terms of fully maximizing the energy that you have available to you. So in the NLP realm, we understand that there are three different energies that we can use in our creation process. And those are the dreamer, the critic, and the planner. Now, most of us are very familiar with the critic that dwells within us. That's the part of us that's capable of editing, being critical, seeing the flaws, and seeing the problems in the design of a thing. Now, sometimes what can happen is that our critic side can get in the way of the dreamer when we are trying to create something new. So the first thing to note here is that it's very important that we not allow our critic to interfere in the dreamer state. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to separate out the way that we do our creation process. So for example, if you are writing something, if you are recording something, if you are designing something new, it can be very helpful to have time slated purely for creation, whether that's free writing where you're not going back and editing it straight away, you're recording a video and you're not going back and doing takes or worrying about how you're going to crop and edit it straight away, or you are designing something, perhaps a visual or a graphic, without immediately worrying about fixing it or even worrying about exactly how you are going to implement and use it. And the reason for that is because sometimes we can become penned in by our critic and even by our planner. So our planner is another of the energies, and our planner is capable of taking something that we've created or designed and determining the best possible, most effective way to use it. So let's just say you've crafted a really genius bit of copy. Your planner is capable of analyzing that copy and saying, this would best match with blank, and perhaps propose a specific time frame in which you'd like to use it. Perhaps you're pairing things like a tip with a particular promotion, or you're pairing up a freebie with a particular bit of copy. Your planner allows you to assess the most effective and strategic way of implementing the creation. And then your dreamer is the one conjuring the juicy ideas. And the important piece here in terms of not allowing your critic or your planner to interfere with the dreamer is that the dreamer needs to be out of box. It needs to go into the realm of there are no known barriers. So most of the time, it's really quite easy for us to conjure up barriers to know that won't work, that won't work, this won't work, that won't work, and to be able to quickly shoot down ideas. And that can be useful for us, but when we are trying to create something new, it can be helpful to temporarily suspend the critic and the planner so that our dreamer can truly take over and perhaps create something that has never been done before. And sometimes when we create from that space of having no barriers, we actually are able to overcome barriers that we thought were previously uncrossable. So allowing yourself time in the dreamer only state means suspending the critic, not worrying about logistics, not focusing heavily on the details because that will happen, but it will happen later. Allowing yourself truly imaginative playtime for your brain to be able to just create without bounds. Later on, we will approach and come in with the critic and the planner, and we'll put parameters around things. And perhaps we will shoot down some ideas. Perhaps we will delete some things. We will decide that some things that the dreamer came up with are simply not possible, at least not right now, or perhaps not ever. But in the dreamer state, we don't allow for the barriers, we just create. The second piece of advice around using these three energies is to be mindful of who and when you share your juicy, exciting new babies with. So it's helpful and important if you have an idea when you're going into a new idea. Who are the people that are in my bubble of trust to share this fledgling, foundling little baby idea with when it's in its earliest gestational stages? And that is probably going to be a rather small group. In fact, it is potentially recommended that you not share that fledgling little baby idea with anyone at all until you yourself have had a little bit of time to sit with it. And the reason for that is because it's very easy for others to step into their own critic state or perhaps planner state and immediately enter in with questions about, well, how is this going to be useful? How are you going to make money off of this or monetize this? Is this really a good fit for your business? And those are all completely valid questions to be asked, but they need to be asked at the right time. And when you are in a creation state, in a dreamer state, and your goal is simply conjuring juicy ideas, having a critic come right in and shooting things down could potentially intimidate your dreamer from going further with it. So having an understanding of who those people are and when a suitable time is to reveal something to them, it's important that you trust them. Number one, that you trust them to hold your genius little baby idea very carefully and understand that it's vulnerable, particularly in its early stages. And also that they are trustworthy, especially if this is an idea that it's important that there's some measure of privacy around it, like you want to reveal it to the world in a particular way at a particular time. You need to make sure that they're not going to go like posting about it or talking about it if it's really important that that juicy idea be kept quiet for now. And then the third suggestion here is that you allow some amount of time for each of these energies to come in to your creation or your marketing practice. And so that may look different for everybody. So what that might look like, just to give an example, could be that you have some amount of time slotted for pure creativity where you're simply writing without bounds or designing without bounds. You may have some amount of time dedicated to your editing process. So for example, the way that I like to do things is I'll record a video, but I don't put the pressure on myself straight away to take that video and go and do all the things with it. I just allow myself to create, and then I usually have some time slated where it goes onto YouTube, it gets scheduled out for a blog or whatever its purpose is for. And I allow those energies to be a little bit separate, because when I'm in the mode of creating and designing and conjuring, it is a very different energy than to then take that piece and say, okay, where does this best suit my business? Where does it fit in, and how am I going to use it? Now, to be realistic here, often when I go in to record a video, I already have a purpose for it in mind, and that is usually true with our content and our blogs and our written copy and those sorts of things as well. But that doesn't mean that you have to enter into the creation process with that heightened sense of this is going to happen here and now and when, and also in particular the critic mode that's already going, oh, that wasn't good enough, oh, that needed to be said differently, oh, I wish I had done it this way. It allows you to kind of separate that out for yourself, and then you can adjust as you go. I like to come back and edit later, or perhaps even on a different day, depending on what my time frame looks like. And so I also like to do all of my planning in a chunk where I have, okay, this is the group of content that I have. I have, these pieces of promotional copy, or I have these blogs. This one makes sense to plot in there for February for a particular reason, because I'm focusing on a particular theme that month. This one makes sense for March or April. So you can have a look at everything that you've created and then decide where does it fit and how does it go. It's also really useful, as always, to have a library of things that you can continuously draw from when you need them. So that could be a library of tips, a library library of written copy, a library of videos. Perhaps some of them are educational, perhaps some of them are promotional. And then when you need something, you can then use your planning mode to go in and say, oh, this video is perfect to slide right in here for this purpose, something that I need it for. So it can be really helpful for us to honor these different energies, to recognize them when they're showing up for us in our creation process, and to find ways to truly maximize our energy, because it can otherwise become a little exhausting to try to do it all at once. Create and then edit and then schedule it and plan it out. So if you separate them, it can help to really reduce the overwhelm and the feeling that there's too much to do, that marketing and content creation feels overwhelming because there's so many pieces involved. I really have found for me, it helps to separate it out, particularly even having them on different days, because then it feels like, oh, my day today, it's just scheduling. It's just planning. The stuff is already done. It's already been edited. And now all I have to do is take my finished pieces and plug them in somewhere useful. So I hope you found this to be helpful. Once again, I'm Christine Collins. You can check me out further at 𝓜𝓪𝓰𝓲𝓬. And in the meantime, I hope that you have an absolutely magical and creative rest of your day. Thanks for listening. This is Christine Collins at 𝓜𝓪𝓰𝓲𝓬.